Today I'll be talking to you guys about IT transformation. So first, why am I talking about IT transformation? I work at Dell Technologies. Dell Technologies, it's the largest IT technology company on the globe. Over the last couple of years, they've actually invested over $110 billion in acquiring other technology companies to become Dell Technologies. Dell Technologies was barely founded in September 6th last year. And what is Dell Technologies? So everyone knows Dell. Dell is well known because they sell hardware. They sell computers, they sell servers, some storage, networking. Dell acquired EMC, which is the number one storage vendor on the planet. With that acquisition came in VMware, which is the number one virtualization vendor on the planet, orchestration. Dell Technologies also include within that RSA, the number one security company on the planet. SecureWork, one of the largest or more innovative security companies on the planet that goes along with RSA. Pivotal, Virtustream. Basically, why is Michael Dell acquiring all these companies? He's reinvented Dell Technologies in order to assist our customers and our partners so they can transform themselves and become future ready. What does future ready means? So who here remembers Blockbuster, BlackBerry? They own a market, and in merely a couple of years, they disappear. What happened? They got to a comfort zone where they were very, very reliable on their day-to-day business, and then didn't realize that because they didn't want to transform themselves or change the way they were doing business, they were going to disappear in a very short period of time, even though they weren't the number one vendor on their specific space. So today we're at that point where business have to evolve, have to transform so they can tackle future challenges. They can be able to tackle future needs. And that is what Dell Technologies is trying to address. So if I look at it from a R&D perspective, and I look, this is just US specifically, you can see that Dell is not randomly acquiring companies. It's doing it in a very smart way. They're acquiring very proprietary IP. We are one of the largest patent owners on the globe. And all those technologies are with the intention of helping our partners and customers address those future needs, those future challenges. So how do we transform the business? Great. I'm talking on a very holistic view here about the business need to adapt, they need to evolve, they need to transform. But what does that mean? As you saw from the previous presentations, the digital era is already here. Every single day we're looking at technology evolving. I have dogs at home that have trackers on their collars so I can locate them. I know that I'm not taking them enough outside. I know that they're not drinking enough water. That's just one example of how technology is changing the way I deal with my dogs. We can apply the same thing to business. So in order to cope with this digital transformation, business have to go through three main transformations: IT transformation, workforce transformation, and security transformation. I will be talking mainly about IT transformation today and how a business can achieve this outcome. The best way to picture this is with an example. What is one of the most dangerous things we can do today? Get into a car. So last year alone, there were over 1.3 million fatalities in car accidents. This is a huge number. And who can tell me, out of those fatalities, what percentage were actually due to the car? So who knows, out of those 1.3 million fatalities that happened, how many were caused because of a mechanical failure? Just guess, a percentage. 25%? 19? 1? Close. It's actually 3%. Yes, only 3% of those fatalities were due to a malfunction. And it gets worse. If we actually go deeper, out of that 3%, the reality is in most cases it was due to poor maintenance. I didn't change the tires in time. I didn't actually change the brake fluid. I didn't go through my maintenance process. So that 3% could be lower. But let's stick to that. This is a very small number if I compare it to the 94% that are due to human error. So that 94%, it's I spilled my coffee, I was using WhatsApp while I was driving, I was on the phone, a kid was yelling on the back of the car, etc. Right? So I handle, as part of Dell Technologies, Belize and other countries. Something that shocked me in Curacao specifically last year was that they had to create a division specifically to aware people that you should not and you cannot play Pokemon Go while you're driving. Because, it's funny, but the reality is they were having a lot of accidents because of it. People wanted that Charmander. They wanted that specific Pokemon that, I don't know, for some reason, they happened to be on the road. And so how do we address that? If I wanted to reduce those numbers of fatality, what should I do? Right? The first thing is, I mentioned 1.3 million fatalities last year. It's going to get worse. So here I have a picture of a traffic jam in Los Angeles. Right? They have infrastructure. They really do. But the problem is not the infrastructure. It's how they're using it. So this is today, right? In 2010 alone, for every single 1,000 people, there were 40 cars. And we're looking at pictures like that. The prediction is that by 2035, it's going to be over 300 cars for the same people. Right? Cars are getting cheaper. It's easier to access them through financial aid or... So how do I solve this problem that today is a problem and I know it's going to become worse? How do I avoid those you and me driving the car becoming a fatality? Those errors. Yes, we can argue that there's still green in that picture and I could build more roads, invest trillions of dollars in increasing the infrastructure, but they have to be a better way. Right? So what is the solution? Anyone?
Driverless cars.
Oh, yes. Yes, driverless cars, exactly. So great. Google have been testing these cars for a couple of years now. It's a car with no driver. So if 94% of the accidents are due to the human, let's just remove that of the equation, right? And it should work. Does it? Is it safe? Will you feel safe? No? So let's guess again. What percentage of accidents you guys think that over this, let's say, beta testing period, the driverless car had? 0? Wow. So it's been, let's say, over 5 years now that Google have been testing these drives on the road. In over 2 million plus miles, the Google Drive car had one accident. That accident was because it got confused with a bus lane, and it happened to hit a bus at 2 miles per hour. So it wasn't that big. Now, this is not entirely true. The Google car actually had 42 accidents, but only one was his fault. The remaining ones were people chatting that bumped into the car, people weren't paying attention that bumped into the rear of the car. So yes, the technology is there. It's ready. Right now, they're testing it. And that is the reason why you will see a lot of companies investing into that, because it works. If we can reduce those fatalities, if we can reduce the time we lose in traffic jams, it's promising. And as you can see, a lot of those companies are not even in the car industry. You will see Apple. You will see Tesla, Uber, Google, right? What does Google has to do with the car industry? So, where I'm going to, in order to solve those challenges, in order to remove those errors, the answer is remove the human out of the equation. So I'm not telling this is Terminator, Skynet is coming, the machines are taking over. No, I'm telling humans need to steer the ship in the direction they want to go. And the systems and the technology need to help them go into that direction, not the way around. I am the human and I need to maintain the system. I need to keep the lights on. I need to be able to keep everything running. If I'm doing that, I'm not being productive. I'm not being efficient. It should be the other way around. The technology should be helping me, right? So what we're looking at today is that systems are getting every single day more complex. You saw it from the previous presentation, right? We're trying to tackle many different things, and those translate into many different systems that need to work together. Technology helps in that aspect, but it's not easy. It's very complex. It's not, okay, buy this product, problem is solved. I need to have every single piece of system work together. And in order to do so, I need to transform the way business are doing IT. I need to have IT focuses on optimizing, on being more efficient, on leveraging the technology for me to actually be able to meet those goals. Has anyone here seen a supermarket from Amazon? No? So Amazon last year, they opened a supermarket, and what their supermarket has, which is entirely different from any other supermarket on the planet, it has no cashiers, right? So I enter in the shop with my phone. As soon as I am in the shop, they know that because of my Amazon Prime account, I'm into the shop. I take whatever I want off the stands and I go out. As soon as I leave the door, my credit card gets charged with it. If I don't have a Amazon Prime account, I cannot go through, the door will not open. So they're going into that because the main bottleneck that the supermarket have is the cashier. I take the product, I read through the descriptions, I do all the work. But when I get to the cashier, even though now with code bars and everything, you can do it faster, it's still there that I have to do my line. It's still there that I have to wait. So Amazon is trying to tackle that problem through technology, right? So ESG did a survey on Dell customers, over 4,000 customers, and they basically asked them, where do they believe their IT is standing today? If they had to rate themselves on a 1 to 4 scale, how mature do they believe their IT is? Are they what is called legacy infrastructure? Are they in between? Or are they already transformed, future ready? Whatever the future brings, my company is ready to tackle that. 5% believe that they are. This is just their perception, right? It's not necessarily the reality. Around 80% are in that in-between space. So they know they need to transform, but they don't have the budget, or they don't know how to actually achieve that transformation, or they're actually doing it on a step-by-step process. And only 12% decided that they don't need to transform. That 12% is usually what will translate into a BlackBerry, a Blockbuster. Those are the examples I gave earlier. What they do all agree upon to is that 71% of them knows that if they do not embrace IT transformation, most likely they'll be out of business in the near future, because they're no longer competing with other companies. They're competing with the expectation that the customer has. Everyone here in this room most likely have a cell phone, a smart device, or had some sort of interaction with it. So they know that they already expect everything to work when I click on the application. I want everything always on, always there. I don't know how it works. I don't care how it works. I just want to click there and be able to throw my birds to the pigs or whatever, right? So people need to embrace the transformation if they want to adapt, evolve, and be able to be competitive in the future. Great. So I just spoke about the concept. How do we achieve that? How do we reach that IT transformation? How can companies like Dell Technologies help me reach that IT transformation? Once again, 3 simple steps. So the first one, it's modernize the data center, right? The second one, it's to automate the service delivery. And the last one is transform IT operations. What does that mean, or how can relate to that? IT need to change their business model to a cloud-centric business model. Great, cloud. Great marketing name. It means a lot of things. It doesn't mean anything, depending on each one interpretation, right? Basically, in order to have a cloud, I need different building blocks. I need the hardware, right, where it's going to run. I need virtualization layer, orchestration, so all the software that I'm going to put on that hardware, so that hardware becomes agile, automated. So automated is the key component. Through virtualization, I can maximize the utilization of my equipment. But if I don't automate that, my IT business it's basically focusing on keeping that system running rather than having that system entirely automated so my IT team can work into helping the business be more productive. All that so I can run my applications at the end, right? The application is the most important thing is from what the business run from. I will have my billing system. If I'm a phone user, there I will have, I don't know, my phone, my games, my emails, my pictures, your social media, you name it, right? So the application is the end up result that will bring business value. In order for that application to work properly, I need everything that's below that to be as easy as possible. So how do I achieve that? The first thing is the infrastructure, right? So I need to modernize the infrastructure, and basically it's to combine that virtualization layer with the hardware level. The second step is to combine the orchestration and platform, which we're gonna call the cloud. It's basically the software layer. Everything that will be automated, everything has to be automatic. I don't want to touch, I don't want to worry about red lights, green lights, everything just has to work. That portion is the automate service delivery. And the last one, it's to actually transform the IT operations so they can leverage that and bring results to the business. Either more sales, either faster results, either less steps. I travel every single week. All around the Caribbean region. You guys have no idea how many times I have to write down my passport number. I know it by heart. Actually, I have 2 passports, and I know them both by heart. Because maybe I have to write down that passport numbers 12 times per week on a paper that I don't know if someone will actually ever look at. I have to tell every single week, no, I'm not bringing firearms, no, I'm not bringing fruit or animals or whatever. But they keep asking and asking us the same questions. And the reason they ask is for security. They need to keep track of that. But the way they're doing it is not efficient for me. They should already know that. I come here every month. I come here every month for work. So why do I have to go through that entire process? Well, they haven't gone through that IT transformation yet. If you guys happen to travel to Aruba, for example, you leave the plane, right? So 1 foot out of the plane. From there till I reach the airport, the government has a KPI that time has to be less than 12 minutes. So there's no migration line, there's no passport control. I just leave the plane, there's a machine, I put my passport, take the picture, doors open, I'm out. It's very automated, it's very, very fast. And that helps with the tourism. That helps with the, it's a different way of achieving the same result. They are tracking my passport, they have all my name, my passport number, and everything. I didn't have to actually write it down, have someone read through the information, validate that it was correct, and put the stamp. Everything was digital here. So, going back to modernizing the infrastructure. How do I achieve that? Well, we do that through a couple of attributes. The first one is leveraging new technology. Things like Flash. If you're not using Flash on your data center, you're 2 steps behind. SSDs today are as cheap as spinning drive. They're very, very cheap, and they're way faster. Way, way faster. Second step is your infrastructure needs to be cloud-enabled. What does cloud-enable means? That means that infrastructure needs to be able to support the mobility of the resources across not only your infrastructure, but other infrastructures. So Dell.com in US, for example, is like Amazon. I can go into Dell.com and buy an Xbox if I want. It's not a Dell product, but they sell or resell third-party products. And Dell.com in Christmas, Cyber Monday, and Black Friday have a spike of utilization that it will not be able to reach through the entire year. So Dell can choose, okay, I'm going to buy this huge stack of infrastructure just for that specific day, and the rest of the year I'm at maybe 20% utilization, or I'm going to use infrastructure that it's around 60% utilization, but through technology, I know that when that time will come, I can, just for a couple days, connect to Amazon, connect to Google, connect to Microsoft Azure, and leverage their resources so I can receive that spike and not lose business. That's one way of doing it, right? So cloud-enabled is very, very important. It doesn't mean that your data will reside on the cloud. It doesn't mean that you have to move to the cloud. In fact, the cloud is very expensive. But if you use the cloud for just a couple of days, it's cheaper than having to buy a huge server that will never reach 100% utilization until next year. The other component is scaling out. With today's environment, as you saw in previous presentations, business evolved very, very fast. Google, a couple years ago, was no one. Twitter, Facebook, these companies came out of nowhere and become these huge monsters on the industry. And the main reason is IT was not slowing them. Never, never, ever. You have to be scaled out. You don't want bottlenecks on your infrastructure. You need to have an infrastructure that is able to scale out as fast as your business. So that's very, very important. I'm going to give an example. Who knows who is the largest transport company on the globe? Sorry? Amazon? No. It's Uber. So Uber is the largest transport company on the globe, and Uber doesn't have one single vehicle. That's a big advantage over a taxi company that have to pay for the cab, has to do all that initial investment. Who knows who is the largest hotel company on the globe? Airbnb. So they're still in business out of the Marriotts. They're still in business out of these huge hotel resorts. And they don't have to invest one single dollar, right? They have no hotels. So they're doing business differently. And that's what people need to start doing if they want to keep doing business in the future. So next one is software-defined. Software-defined allows me to leverage the software and automate a lot of the process. This is very important. This is very key. And last, trust. So great. I can always buy a patch solution that will help me back up and protect my environment. But wouldn't it be great if my environment had the inbuilt capability of protecting himself? So they'll believe that the easiest way to achieve this modernized infrastructure is through either convergence or hyperconvergence solution. An example of hyperconvergence solution is VxRail. So this is a Dell product that basically, if I look at the hardware, it's a plain Dell server with VMware software on it, right? And it has integrated backup, cloud-enabled, software-defined, scale-out, flash. These three servers that I see on this picture will meet all my needs for networking, storage, compute, virtualization, orchestration, automation. It's basically a cloud, right? One of the biggest advantage here, the scaling out, right? So I can start very small. I can start with 2 servers and grow as fast as big as I want, right? 10,000 nodes if I want, 64 nodes per cluster. Another big advantage of this type of infrastructure, and once again, I'm using VxRail as an example. There are many other flavors on the industry. This type of technology helped me reduce my cost by up to 30%. So that's a big advantage over a competitor that doesn't have it. The biggest advantage of this solution, it's time to value. So if anyone here has gone through the process of implementing a system as easy as creating VMs from start to finish, let's say open the box, set up the server, and everything, that process could take a week, a couple days, right, if people know what they're doing. With this type of solution, you're able to do it in less than 5 minutes. And that's not a marketing speech. It's the reality. I actually went to Las Vegas to a show, and they had the geek on one side, right? This guy, very smart, 3 servers on their boxes, an empty rack. And on the other side of the stage, they had a magician. The magician was put in a jacket, right? They put chains. They came up with this huge glass aquarium. They put the magician in it. They close it. And the magic trick was he needs to go out before he drowns, right? While the magician was trying to escape, the technician took the servers out of the box, brand new receive, set them up on the rack, turn them on, install VMware, install vRealize, set up a Cloud Foundry, create templates, and deploy 400 virtual desktops. All that, he did it in 3 minutes. The magician almost dropped, but he managed to get out in less than 5, right? I was impressed. I can barely hold 1 minute. He managed to do it 4 minutes and something. But the message here, it's great. It was very fancy and everything, but it's very simple. It's very easy and it's very fast. Turn on the server. First thing it asks me, it's about my network. Next, finish. He will do all the process for me. I don't have to create the VLANs. I don't have to go through all the complexity associated to that. And he will always be analyzing my information and adapting to those changes. So if I know that my network is not fast enough, he will change protocols to try which one better fit my needs. If that is not enough, he will tell me, well, you just need an extra port. Please connect another cable. That's it. I don't have to configure anything. So it's kind of leveraging the software defined and removing the complexity out of IT. This is great, right? And that is why both Dell and myself believe it's the easiest way to achieve modernizing IT. It's not, however, the only way of doing so, right? You can do it also with convergence. Convergence is kind of the same thing, but instead of being software-defined, it's hardware-defined, right? It's data center in a box, if you want. And also, we know that some customers, well, that looks awesome, but guess what? I just bought a couple servers. I just bought some infrastructure that I'm not going to throw away. So for those customers, we do have something called blueprints. The blueprints, it's basically a reference architecture on how do they need to deploy those hardware, those softwares, and how do they need to configure them in order to achieve that modern IT. Making sure that the architecture is scalable, making sure that they're following the best practices, making sure that it will be stable, reliable, and there will be no surprises in the near future. So what will be the next step? We already saw the infrastructure. The next step, it's what is here represented as the cloud. It's basically automate everything. Instead of having my IT staff managing the infrastructure, let applications do it. So everything has to be API driven, basically, right? Everything has to be orchestrated. I live in Panama. I have a LG refrigerator that has the ability to track what I have on my refrigerator. So I receive an email telling me, guess what? You need to buy more milk. Great. That is useful information for me. But wouldn't it be great if I just arrive out of Belize, I go to my home, and there's the milk waiting for me? I just have to put it on the fridge? You can do that in US. And why? Because the supermarkets tap into those APIs. And if you allow them to, okay, I want you to replenish my inventory every so often, that is automated. I don't have to actually go to the supermarket. That is awesome. I hate going to the supermarket. I like eating, but I don't like to do the groceries. How you can do that then? How you can achieve that orchestrated, API-driven, automated cloud? Well, at Dell, we have with VMware something called vRealize. And we have with Pivotal something called Cloud Foundry. vRealize allows me to create an infrastructure as a service. So I can request whatever resource I want from my infrastructure on an automated way. And it's even better. I can have my application requested instead of me requesting it, right? So if an application requires a database, here it is. I don't have to worry about, okay, you need to create the VM. You need to install the operating system. Now you need to install the database. Now you need to configure it. Why I have to worry about all that if I can automate it? Then Pivotal Cloud Foundry. Pivotal Cloud Foundry, it's the next step in evolution. It will be platform as a service. So great. Now we already have all that infrastructure, but wouldn't it be great if I don't have to worry about, is it Windows, is it Linux, is it Mac, is it Android? I just want that application here, so Angry Birds or whatever, and I want it running here. Now I want it running on the cloud, but on a secure way, right? Everything has to be protected. And we can do that with those two products. So going back to my previous example, sorry, I work for Dell, so I have to do the advertisement here, but if I go back to the VxRail, which is the hyperconverged solution that Dell has, you can achieve the integration of those technologies, so the vRealize, the Pivotal Cloud Foundry, with 3 times less hardware. You can achieve it a lot faster because it's already embedded within the kernel of the technology. We own those patents, so we build it up within the hardware. So whenever our customers want that feature, instead of actually having to deploy that, it's just select the box, check the box mark, and you already have that feature, right? So once again, VxRail is great, right? It's kind of where the future is going for IT. Everything is hyperconverged, everything is within those boxes, everything is automated. And the main result of that is if I have less time to invest or waste, let's say, on keeping the lights on, I can invest that time into bringing value. I can invest that time into bringing results. The last step will be then transform IT operations. What do I mean? Well, great, now I have the hardware, I have the software, everything works fine. I cannot keep doing business as I do today. I have, as IT, to go to my line of business and ask them what are the challenges, how we can address them. Now I have everything here automated. So basically, I will be Santa Claus. What is your wish list? Give me your needs. Well, I would like to be able to do this in 1 step. Right now, it takes me 10. Great. Let's go to Cloud Foundry and optimize that. 2 clicks, here you go. So that is the promise of what this type of technology or what modernizing IT can provide to the business. Time to value. I'm going to give a bad example, but I used to work at another company in the past, and they had a very, very old system to be able to create quotes, right? So if I wanted to quote something for my customer, I had to go through this system, which was very tedious. It wasn't user-friendly. And basically, it took me around 10 minutes to quote something very, very simple. They came up with this new system that should be able to do the same job in 3 minutes, but it took them 2 years to implement this new system, right? So the technology is there. The challenge is how fast I can adopt that change. With things like Cloud Foundry or vRealize, they could have transitioned from that old system to the new one maybe in 3 days instead of wasting years and years of productivity. So once again, if we review the 3 steps we have to do, it's modernize the infrastructure, automate the service delivery, and last, transform IT operations. If we do that, then we're more likely be able to finish our projects than if we don't. The magic number as of today is 3 times faster. So every time I want to deploy a project and I need to be on track for a specific date, the ideal world will be that all my projects finish before that date. The reality is some of them, actually most of them, never meet that date and they're actually extended. I wanted to be able to inaugurate in November, I have to wait for December. I wanted to be able to implement this in January, I have to wait to February. Well, with this type of infrastructure, you're able to do that 3 times faster. Another important thing, and this is maybe the most catchy one from a sales perspective, it's since it's 33% cheaper, it also leverages from your budget 33% more money to be invested into innovate rather than keeping the lights on. Recurrent cost, renewal. Another one I really like, it increases the cooperation between IT and line of businesses. So now IT becomes an enabler. IT helps the business driving those results. They could be sales, they could be productivity, they could be service. That's depending on the business. But then IT, it's an enabler. And the biggest examples there, it's Uber again. Uber it's just IT. There's no cars, there's no taxi, there's no even drivers. And they're able to meet their customer goals. A really big one, and this one specifically for sales companies, is they're able to achieve their targets. So if they're more productive and they're able to do things faster, they're able to react to the market in less time. They're able to have a competitive advantage over the competitors, and therefore they usually meet their targets. So what is the next step? What can you do if you want to go through this IT transformation? At Dell Technologies, there's a lot of consultative people like myself that can go into deeper conversation and how does what I presented today apply to your business, how your business can actually go through that process. Let's even go to how much time it will take to reach those goals. Also, we can set up for you guys a proof of concepts. We have labs in Panama, Brazil, Mexico, US, where we can create a virtual environment for you to actually test your applications. So to you to realize, is it true? Okay, I saw the PowerPoint, it's very fancy, I really like it, but I would like to actually see that deploy in my environment. We can do that. If that works, then you just acquire whatever solution you want to do, and then you migrate it. You don't have to re-go through the entire process of setting that up in your environment. And last, well, we have dellemc.com/IT transformation. It's a website where you can download information about how to achieve those transformations, what are the results, and every public information there is not from Dell. It's based on Dell customers, but it's third-party companies that have done different questionings and queries to these customers and came up with the reports. With that, I conclude my presentation, unless anyone else have questions, concerns, so you want to go back to something that I presented. Nope. Thank you.